911, what's your emergency?
My daughter's been murdered. She's been murdered! She's handcuffed. She's been tortured.
In 1995, Catherine Edwards, a schoolteacher in Beaumont, Texas, was found dead, handcuffed over her bathtub with signs of sexual assault.
Originally, they believed that she might have been drowned, but there wasn't enough fluid in her lungs, so then it kind of became a suffocation by compression.
I just remember being told that our teacher wouldn't make it to class that day. Everyone just crying.
Police collected a DNA sample from the crime scene, but the case grew cold. Decades later, in 2021, authorities used genetic genealogy to determine that the DNA left at the crime scene likely belonged to a man named Clayton Foreman. Authorities discovered that Foreman had a prior conviction for sexual assault. In 1981, a 19-year-old woman told police that Clayton Foreman bound her hands and raped her. He was given probation and paid a fine. And when looking into Foreman's background, they found a connection to Catherine Edwards. More than a decade before Catherine's murder, Diana Coe, Catherine's friend, had fallen in love with Clayton Foreman and got engaged to him.
He was so kind. He had the most wonderful personality.
And when she started planning her wedding, she immediately turned to her old friends, identical twins Catherine and Allison Edwards.
And they were one of the first ones I thought of as a bridesmaid, and I asked them and they said yes.
Just a few months before the wedding, Diana did hear that her fiancé had gotten into trouble with the law.
And the wedding invitations had already been mailed out. And I said, rape? I said, oh, there's no way.
But she never got any details, and her fiancé explained it away.
He kept telling me it was a big misunderstanding. And so in my mind, I thought, well, he must be telling the truth, because if he got arrested, he's not in jail.
But you didn't really believe it was rape.
Right.
Diana's sister Anne and her brother Scooter were not so sure, and neither were their parents, who wanted her to call it off.
And I said, well, Diana, why don't you just wait? And she didn't want to wait. She wanted to marry Clay. She was in love with him.
She's believing him and she's wanting to get married, then we have to support as a family.
He was like, I'm so sorry. I love you. I want us to be married. I want us to have a family. And so I was like, okay, so I went through with it.
Diana and Clayton stayed married for a little more than 11 years, and they had a son. The relationship began to fray over Foreman lying about their finances, and it ended after he had an affair. When Catherine was killed, they were divorced, but Diana remembers calling her ex-husband to talk about it.
I think I was, crying, and I said, oh my God. I said, somebody has murdered Catherine. And he goes, oh, really? Just like no emotion. When we hung the phone up, I can remember, because I was like kind of squinting and kind of like going, God, that's kind of odd.
After police arrested Clayton, Detective Tina Llewellyn paid a visit to Diana Coe, breaking the news that authorities believed her ex-husband was responsible for Catherine's death.
Did they tell you they had DNA, though? Tina told you that?
Oh, yeah. And I just went, oh my God, please don't tell me it was Clay. I almost fell to the ground. I was just like, oh my God, oh God, I can't believe he's done this.